Hi everyone, welcome back to today's video. Can we just say I'm like super excited for this card. I have been thinking about doing like a rainbow card with embossing paste and all this stuff for like a super long time now, and I finally did it, and can I just say, like, I'm kind of in love with it. So this is the card we're going to be making today. I will give you a full warning that this card, or it's going to take us a little while to make this card. So if you need to go grab a glass of tea or some water or something, go and do it, because this one's going to be a bit of a doozy. It's really easy to do. It just takes a little bit of time. So just so you know, this one is a little bit time consuming, but it's honestly so simple to do. So, and it's really fun. I find it very therapeutic. So I hope you guys enjoy today's project. Don't these look like those little dots candies that you used to get? I don't know if they still sell them. I'm assuming they do. But they are like little, like, it was just like a dot of sugar on a piece of paper. They taste absolutely horrible, but this is what it kind of reminds me of. And I am seriously just so obsessed with this card. I cannot even tell you guys. So I probably spent like, I don't know, an hour or two deciding what colors I wanted to use and mixing colors and figuring all that stuff out. So I am just thrilled with how this has turned out. So I'm excited to share with you guys. So with that being said, let's talk about what we need, because you do need quite a few different things for today. But you can also make your own variation on this, so just keep that in mind. You don't have to use 6 colors that I'm using. You don't have to use embossing paste. You could use your stamp pads and a dauber and basically get the same effect. So just keep that in mind as we're going through this. This is a general concept. You can absolutely take this and kind of change it to whatever you want it to be. So let's get into what we're going to use. So for our stamp set, we're going to be using Family Party. I just use this because it has a really small happy birthday that we can use in it, but use whatever stamp set you'd like. We're going to be using the texture. Why did I say texture? We're going to be using the Tasteful Labor, but why can't I talk? Tasteful Labels dies, and we're only using one small little circle, this one. So again, I just really like this die set, so that's why I'm using it, but use whatever you want, whatever you have handy. We have a mask here, and I can never remember the names of these. Actually, I won't lie to you guys, I didn't even look to see if this was one of the products that I didn't look to confirm that it was coming over in the new catalog. I just assumed that it was. So let's take a little peek-see first. Watch it not be in here. That would be just my luck. Oh no, it is. So it is the basic pattern decorative masks, and then we're also going to be using the palette knives and the embossing paste. See, everything's fine. So mask, again, we're using the polka dot ones, embossing paste, and we're using 2 of the 3 palette knives that come in that pack. We're going to be using 6 re-inkers for today. So we have our rainbow colors here in non-rainbow order, but when we actually start to go create this, I'm going to put them in rainbow order. So we're using Mango Melody, Old Olive, Daffodil Delight, Poppy Parade, Bermuda Bay, and Rich Razzleberry. So again, I'm using re-inkers. You don't have to use a re-inker, but I would highly recommend it. I have seen people, you know how you like can squish your stamp pad and then watercolor with it? I've seen people do that to get some of the ink up, but if you have the re-inkers on hand, it's just easier to use these, and they're not that expensive. They're only a couple of bucks, I think, per re-inker. And these are a really good investment. I use re-inkers for a ton of stuff. I would say, as far as the ink world goes, this is the biggest bang for your buck. Obviously, you're going to need to get stamp sets because you're going to need that to stamp. But I would say the next investment to make before you get the markers or the blends or anything else, I would invest in some re-inkers, because these are so versatile. You can do 110 different things with these. So that's my spiel for today. On to the next item we're going to be using is our Poppy Parade ink pad. Again, we're using that just to stamp. the sentiment. So if you want to use a different color, by all means, use whatever color you'd like. We're using this fun white ribbon, and this is from the Flowers for Every Season combo pack. I like to write, so the ribbons that come in the combo pack don't have any markings on them. So I just take a marker and I write on there, which is why you see my crazy handwriting there. As far as paper goes, so I'm going to set that to the side for a second. So I have a piece of thick Whisper White. This is cut at 5 1/4 by 4 inches. I'm also using thick Whisper White for our card base. So this is cut at 8 1/2 by 5 1/2 and scored at 4 1/4. And then for our sentiment, that little piece that we're going to come out, I just have this scrap here of regular Whisper White. Again, you can use a thick Whisper White. You can use whatever you want. I just happen to use this, grab this because I had it close by. A couple of other random things that you are definitely going to need or will be very useful. So some washi tape. I am actually going to be using 2 different washi tapes here just because I've done this enough times where I know what works for me. So I have this just to kind of keep the stencil down. It's a little bit of a more sturdy washi. It's more rigid, so it's really nice to keep the stencil in place. And then I have this, which is more like regular washi tape that you'll find that's kind of flimsy. And we're going to be using this as masking tape. You could absolutely use just regular Scotch tape. I would just make sure that you kind of like get some of the sticky off of it so that it doesn't pull up the paper. So to create this design where we have different colors here, we're going to be masking off different sections. And then putting it on. So like I said, this is a little bit of a longer video, but you'll totally see what I mean. So some kind of thin washi tape. It doesn't even have to be thin washi, honestly. Some kind of washi tape or some kind of masking tape like item. And then the last thing that is really, really, really useful, I have to grab it because I threw it on the floor, is some kind of paper pad. This is the one that we sell. I couldn't tell you what the name of it is because I don't even know anymore. But something like this where you can work on. So you want something that's disposable. As we start to get into this, you'll see there's a lot of mixing colors and things like that. So you really want something that's going to be disposable and that's going to be nice and sturdy for you, a good work surface for you to work on. The other thing, kind of speaking of, and this is just random that I find really useful, maybe other people don't, it's not a necessity, but something to just be aware of, baby wipes. So as I was saying, we're going to be mixing a lot of stuff. We're going to be doing a lot of stuff to get to this card. So I find that having my baby wipes really handy. I keep a pack of baby wipes in my office at all times, but having this nearby to clean off our palette knives, and your hands can get sticky and kind of icky. So I just find that this is really useful to have on hand. Paper towel, whatever you have, a wet washcloth, whatever you want to use. I find baby wipes work the best for me. Like I said, I literally lives in a drawer over here. But I pulled it out because I know that I'm going to be using quite a few of these for this project. So I think that is it. So let's go ahead and jump into this project. Okay, so the first thing that I want to do is cut out my little sentiment. And the reason that I want to do that first is, again, things are going to get gross and yucky. I'm going to get ink on my hands. I just know it. So I want to keep this piece clean. So I want to do this first and get it out of the way. Set it off to the side and forget about it until I know that my hands are all clean and ready to go. So we are going to be using the Happy Birthday stamps from our, crap, what is that stamp set called? I threw it somewhere. From our family party. That's what it's called. Stamp set. Again, I'm going to be using Poppy Parade as my ink just because I liked the red ink color. I'm just going to stamp this down here. So we have birthday and then happy will go right on top of it. Just like so. That's the only thing we're going to be using this ink pad for. So again, use whatever you have handy. Don't feel like... Sorry, I'm pulling a baby wipe out because I got ink on my hand. Don't feel like you have to go out and get something fancy just for this. And I actually think I didn't stamp this very well. We may have to stamp it again. Yeah, I didn't do a very good job at that. So, change of plans. What I'm actually going to do is cut this out first and then we'll stamp it. I should have done that to begin with, but, ooh, you know, you live and you learn sometimes. So we're going to take our little scrap here. And our die, so there are 2 circle dies in this set. This is the larger one of the 2. I love this new die set. It is so much fun. What is this other one called? The Stitch So Sweetly dies were one of my favorites from the mini catalog, and this is definitely coming in close with the Stitch shapes and that one as well as like a really good favorite. Okay, I'm gonna throw my paper away. Okay, now let's go ahead and stamp. I'm gonna get a much better image doing it this way. Okay, there we go. So birthday. So I stamp birthday first because it's the larger word and I want to get it lined up really well. And happy. Perfect. So now we can set this off to the side. Ooh, and look, I'm already sticking my fingers in ink. See, it's gonna happen. I'm telling you. Okay, so I'm gonna take this, set it off to the side, hopefully where it can stay safe and not have me destroy it with all this ink that's gonna be on my hands. See, look, my thumb is now pink. Oh well, what can you do? Okay, so now for the fun part. Let's get to playing with our colors and our ink and all of that stuff. So again, I'm using our paper pad as my surface to work on. It's disposable, it's thick, it's sturdy, I can move it around. I know things are gonna stay put right where I want them. So I'm gonna bring in my piece of Whisper White and my mask. And you don't have to line this up or anything. I like to use the lines as just a guide so that I know my piece of paper is straight for when I put my stencil on, but you don't have to. And you'll notice I am not securing down the piece of paper. I'm only going to secure down the stencil. You don't need to secure down your piece of paper. I know people get scared. I am one of them where I was like, oh man, no, I definitely need to secure down the piece of paper. You don't have to. Once you start stenciling and you have some of that, it kind of acts like a glue to put down, you're going to be totally fine. So I didn't do that very well. I want to do a little bit better job at lining up my stencil kind of where I want it. So you just want to pay attention to where the lines start and where they end. Sorry, I was really concentrating, so I couldn't, I had to stop talking there for a second. Okay. And you just want to be mindful when you put your washing down. Make sure that you don't put it onto the paper because then you're going to block the area where you want your ink to go. Okay, so another thing to note is I put my stencil, sorry, I'm kind of moving my desk here. Hopefully that didn't mess up my setup. I put the, my workpiece kind of in the corner. So I'm going to use all of this area over here and maybe even up here if I need to do my mixing and my colors. And I want my one dedicated area for my actual piece of paper over here. So I need to get a drink of water really fast. So now we're just going to get started. You know, this is one of those things I just want to let you guys know that you just have to kind of play with it and go with it. It's supposed to be fun. Don't get stressed out about it. Don't feel like you have to be a perfectionist. And I only say that because I am a perfectionist and I feel that way. So just play with it, have fun with it, and don't get too stressed out about it. It's going to turn out beautiful no matter what. So the first thing that we need to do is mask off some areas. So I'm going to take my piece of washi tape and I'm going to look for the corners of the papers that are diagonal from each other. Now, I want my rainbow to go like this. If you wanted your rainbow to go like that, you would use these corners. It's totally up to you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my piece of washi and I'm going to start it at one corner and I'm going to finish it at the other corner down here. What that's doing is it's splitting our piece of paper in half. So now I'm going to do 3 colors on this side and 3 colors on this side. The thing that you need to remember though as you're doing this is we did it in half right here. So this side right now, because I have some washi over here, is going to be smaller than this side, and that is a-okay. We're going to focus on this half first and then we'll come up to this top half over here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to look and see how I want to cut this into 3 sections. I'll be honest, all I do for this, I just eyeball it. I don't think too much about it. So so here's my paper from here to here, and I want 3 sections. So I think I want one right here and one about here. You can also, I still have some lines on here from when I did this previously, so you can kind of get an idea. I have a general thought of how I want to do this. So I know I want my line to be here, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the edge of my washi tape and I'm going to line it up right there. So now this section is taped off and ready to go. Now, again, because we are using tape, I can't do this middle section here because I have my washi there. So I'm going to go ahead and tape off this side, and I'm going to make the other side right there. So I have the full piece here and the full piece here. So we're going to do these 2 first. We'll remove the washi, we'll mask off again, and then we'll do this inner bit. I promise as we're doing this, it'll make more sense. You just kind of have to go with it. So the other thing that I recommend doing, and I only say this because I almost goofed, I'm going to draw some lines here, and I'm going to write out which colors I want to use. So I am going to, right here, I don't know that you guys will be able to see it, but I'm going to put all of my colors in order right in front of me. Green. I'm going to put them in front of me in hopes that I remember the order that they go in. And then once I use up that color, I'm actually going to take it and move it off to the side so I don't grab it again. So for here, we're going to do Rich Razzle Berry. Next, we're going to do Bermuda Bay. And my chicken scratch, I'm just scribbling writing. And Old Olive. So those are the only colors that I'm going to concern myself with for right now. Cool? Okay, so I'm going to start with Old Olive. So I'm going to bring in a piece of hair and my Old Olive re-inker. And I'm now going to open up my embossing paste. Another thing to talk about before we get started. Sorry, there's a lot of technical things to chat through before we actually jump into this. Mainly because once you kind of get the technical stuff down, you can just play and have a good time. So I'm going to be using, oh my gosh, where is all this hair coming from? I'm going to be using 2 of my palette knives. This is the biggest one, so I figured I'd just grab the other one so you could see. So this one that's really long and skinny, we're not going to use it. You can if you want to, but I'm not going to use it for today. We're going to use the other 2. So the bigger one I'm going to use to actually scrape into my stencil and work with. This is going to be my mixing tool. This is going to be my everything tool. This other one, which has this really pointy end, we're going to use to deposit our color in. So let's go ahead and do this. One tip, so your embossing paste comes with this little foil piece. Keep it on there. When you are not using your embossing paste between colors, close it up, put the foil piece back on, close it really tight because you don't want this stuff to dry out. Second tip, you need less than you think. You will see that every single time I do a color, I'm going to make too much. I've tried really hard to figure out what's the right amount, and I just always make too much. So, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. It just know that you're going to end up with a little bit of extra, and that's okay. At the end, you may need a little bit extra to kind of blend in some blank spaces and stuff like that, but you really don't need a whole lot. So just keep that in mind. Less is more. I do tend to err on the side of making a little bit more because it's harder to go back and really color match. So it's better to have more than less. Just keep that in mind. So what I see a lot of people doing and what I used to do myself, I did it myself, was just take your re-inker, open it up, put a couple drops in there and mix away. You can absolutely do that. I've just found that it's a lot harder to get the color that I want without having to use a ton of embossing paste. So this smaller palette knife that we have, I'm going to use this for my color depositing, like I said. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to put my drop of ink right on there. And like literally you need 1 drop of ink. I'm going to set this off to the side until I'm done using it, and then I'm going to move it away so I don't grab it again. So what I do is instead of putting that whole drop of ink into my embossing paste, I just take it and I just tap just a little bit, put it there. Actually, I'm going to put it over here. And then I'm going to start to mix. And this way I can mix just a little bit of ink in at a time. And I know kind of where my color is going without having to continuously mix in more embossing paste and then more ink and then more embossing paste to lighten it up or darken it up. This really allows me to get a nice color that I want really easily. So you can see this is basically the color that I want, and I used hardly any of that ink on there. I might put like a little tiny drop more in, but that's not going to make that big of a difference. Just want it a little bit darker. And the other thing to note is some of the colors dry a little bit darker. So if you're super, super concerned about your colors, play with it for a little bit. You don't need a ton of embossing paste to just play to see how your colors are going to darken. I find that this one doesn't darken too much, so I'm really shooting for whatever color I actually want. Sorry, my throat is really dry today, so I feel like I'm going to be drinking a lot of water because I'm also going to be talking a lot in this video. Okay, so all I'm going to do is take my color like that, and I'm going to smoosh it in to the old olive section. Now the only thing that you really need to be concerned with here is trying to, oh, see, man, if you make a boo-boo, I was literally just going to say, the only thing you really need to concern yourself with is putting it in the right area. If you make a boo-boo, this stuff is really forgiving, so just wipe it off with your fingers. That's why you got your baby wipe or your little napkin or whatever by your side. You really just want to try to focus on keeping it in between the two lines in your masked area. And that's it. So you can see I didn't use all of my embossing paste, just like I told you I wasn't going to. So I push it in, I kind of scrape it in there first, and then I just go with one swoop to kind of even it out. Just like that. And then again, I'll put my extra over there. And that's it. So I'm going to leave that just like that. I'm going to take my baby wipe, and I'm going to clean off my palette knife. Clean off this one as well because you don't want ink. And then I'm going to take my ink and I'm going to move it off to the side because I'm done with it. And then we're just going to continue that same process for all of these colors. So I'm going to go into Rich Razzleberry. And this one you need even less embossing paste because it's a smaller area. So we're going to try that out and see. I can guarantee you guys it's probably too much. Take my Rich Razzleberry. Put it on my palette knife. Rich Razzleberry, I know I need quite a bit of ink. I still do it the same way because, again, I want to be able to control the color. And you'll see, so the way that I mix is I scrape it all up and then I squish it down and then I scrape it all up again and squish it and scrape and squish and scrape and squish and scrape and squish until I get an even color that I like. So that's the perfect Rich Razzleberry color for me. Actually, let's do a little bit more ink. There, I think that's probably good. Sorry, when I start to concentrate and like mix colors and whatnot, I get really quiet. Oh, I was like, I thought I just dipped my finger in something. I did. I dipped it in the ink. I told you, I am going to get super messy, and that is a-okay. Okay, so that's the color that I'm really going for. Put my palette knife over there. And so again, I'm just going to take it and I'm going to squish it into the Rich Razzleberry section. Again, I made way too much, but that's okay. And then I'm just going to go like that to scrape it off and get a nice clean edge. And then you just seriously just continue doing the same thing over and over again. Let's clean this off. It's really fun. I like doing this. Like I said earlier, it's kind of therapeutic for me. And I only use the baby wipe like for one or two colors and then I toss it. So just so you know, you're going to get kind of messy. You're going to go through a lot of paper towels or baby wipes or whatever you're using. Okay, so now that we have these two sections done, let's go ahead and do our Bermuda Bay. So you're going to peel up your masking tape here. And you can reuse the masking tape if you want to. I personally am not going to. I am just going to toss it. Because it's washi tape anyway, sometimes it doesn't stick as well the second time. Yada, 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 all of that good stuff. So you just want to kind of touch it and make sure it's not super, super wet. Like my rich raspberry, I can touch it and some comes off on my fingers. So if that happens, you can take your heat tool, and my heat tool is not going to reach super far, so I'm just going to scooch this over for a second, and I'm just going to heat set this for a couple seconds to make sure it's nice and dry. Okay, so now we're going to take our masking tape again, so our washi tape, and we're going to mask. You're going to put the washi tape on the sides where your ink already is, your embossing paste already is, so that we can then put our Bermuda Bay on there. And I just use the line of where the ink is, where I can see color, as the line for where I want to mask off. Just like that. So now we have our nice big section for our Bermuda Bay. What we can also do now is work on this other half over here. And I like to just mask as much as I can, and then ink as much as I can, and then mask and ink and mask and ink. So I'm going to peel this up. And now we're going to work on the second half. Ooh, I think I may need another thing of washi because this one's about to run out. Yep, see, look. Okay, so again, I'm going to, man, why do I have the hiccups today? I'm going to, I don't know guys. I'm going to mask off where I've already put, okay, sorry, my camera stopped recording for a second. Hopefully you guys caught that. So I just put the washi down again wherever I want, wherever that old line was. So now we cut this half off and we can section off this half. But I'm also going to have to grab another thing of washi. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is, again with my pen, so I'm just going to kind of look and see. So I think probably here, and then maybe here is where I want my lines to be. So I'm going to use this little tiny piece that I still have. Do it about there. And this is going to be Poppy Parade. Then I need to get another thing of washi tape. Good thing I have like an entire collection of washis. I want one that's about the same thickness. Here we go. And then we are going to mask off about here. Yep, that looks good there. And so this is going to be Daffodil Delight, right? Is that the color I used? Yes. And then this section here is going to be Mango Melody. Sweet. So now I have my Bermuda Bay blocked off, I have my Daffodil Delight blocked off, and my Poppy Parade. So I can do 3 colors all at once. I'm going to take my rich raspberry because I'm done with it, move it away. I'm going to go ahead and do Bermuda Bay just so I can get this second half wrapped up. So again, exact same process. My palette knife is cleanish. I'm going to scoop some out, close it up again. Actually, I'm going to wipe this off one more time. Get a little bit of ink on there. Put a little bit of ink and paste. And then mix away. Putting the ink on this way using the palette knife versus just putting it into the embossing paste really just allows you to control your ink colors a little bit more. But if you add too much accidentally, just know you can always add in more embossing paste and that'll lighten it up. I try to avoid that just because it's kind of a waste of embossing paste. But if you get into that situation where you really don't like the color and you want to lighten it up, just add a little bit more. So now we're going to go in with this color. Just like so. And just like that. Scrape it off to even it out. And then we can move on to Daffodil Delight. Telling you, this is a very, it's a little time consuming, but it's really therapeutic. It's fun to just kind of mix colors and play around and see what you end up with. Before I even started doing this project, so I had an idea in mind of what I wanted to do. I knew this was the concept that I wanted to go for, but I wasn't exactly sure which colors I want to use and all of that stuff. So I just sat down for, it was probably a couple hours, honestly. Ooh, that's gonna be way too much. I sat down for a couple hours and I just played around with colors. I just looked to see what I liked. So what I did was I actually used this paper pad and I just started mixing colors left and right. And I had a bunch of colors all on one sheet of paper. So I had different yellows and oranges and greens and blues and pinks and purples and reds and every color, right? And so I just mixed and mixed and mixed. And then what I did was I took the sheet of paper and I cut out each color individually. And then I just started arranging them where I thought I started arranging them together in the rainbow order and started mixing in or swapping in yellows, and then I did a different blue and then I did a different red until I got the color combination that I really liked. So you just kind of have to play with it, and it's kind of one of those things where it's fun to just not be so serious about like, oh, I need to create a card. It's more so, hey, I'm just playing around with different colors to see what I get and where I end up, and I really liked it. So I think maybe a little bit more yellow. The yellow and the orange. Yellow, orange, and red, I find you have to add quite a bit of color. Like I said, with Rich Razzleberry, you want to add quite a bit also, but I think it's just mainly that pigment itself, not necessarily the color in general. I just find with oranges and yellows in general, and reds, you have to add quite a bit of the pigment to it to get the color that you're going after. See, that one I didn't do so bad with. I mean, I ended up with extra still, but not much. Okay, perfect. Now, move that off. Now we're going to do Poppy Parade. So again, Mango Melody is not going to be ready for us. We're going to go on to Poppy Parade. Clean up everything. I think this would be a fun one to do with like kids and stuff too, because you can kind of just play. It's not serious. You're not going to hurt anything. They're not working with your super expensive stamps and all that stuff. It's just some cheap palette knives and some embossing paste, and it's just fun. So Poppy Parade. Again with Poppy Parade, and I think it is really this pigment, because Real Red, you can get to a deep red color pretty quickly. Poppy Parade turns into this like vibrant pink color kind of. I should have taken this further when I did this. I didn't. But if you add in enough pigment, you can get a really, really deep red color, and that's what I'm going to go for today. So I'm probably going to have to add in quite a bit of pigment. And when I say pigment, I just mean the re-inker. I'm probably going to have to add quite a bit in to get the red color that I'm going for. This one does dry down pretty dark also, so it's kind of a fine line between what's too much, but I don't think that you can have too much, I guess, is kind of where I get to. There we go. That's the color I'm looking for. So you can see just a difference in between these two. But again, it's all about playing and having fun. I feel like I've said that 100 times, but that's really what it's all about. Okay, and then I'm just going to scrape this into here. Okay. Then our last color is Mango Melody. So again, we need to remove all of our masking. Not all of it, but we need to remove at least those two so that we can do our Mango Melody. Oops, that fell on the ground. That's okay. I'm going to go ahead and just remove these just because I'm here doing it. I like to see how it's looking. Okay. Ooh, I keep hitting this table. Hopefully I'm not jacking up the frame and stuff. Let's look. I think I'm pretty good. Yeah, I think it looks pretty good. Okay. So again, before we start off, we do need to mask off these two areas. So again, I'm just going to kind of do the finger test. That's definitely not dry, so I'm going to wipe that off and then grab my heat tool again and just heat set it so that this is nice and dry before I go to mask. Okay. So I'm going to grab some more washi and mask this off. And then we're going to mask this off. And then mix up our final color. So see why I say using this paper pad is really fun, because you can mix everything on here. You have your project here. You can write on it so you know what's going on. It's just a really useful tool for a project like this, I find. Okay, Mango Melody. I dropped some in already and I didn't even mean to. Mango Melody is definitely one where you have to add quite a bit of ink, because what's going to happen is it's going to look yellow at first if you just add a little bit. So you want to make sure you add it enough in to take it to orange versus yellow. And what I just like to do is kind of hold it up to the Daffodil Delight pile and see, like, do I feel like that's orange enough? Do I want to take it a little bit further? How am I feeling? And it's up to you. Just play around. Yeah, that's the color I want. Okay, so then we're just going to come and scrape it in again. Take the excess off. Just like so. I'm going to go ahead and wipe my palette knife off really quickly. You don't have to do it. I just like to do it before I forget. Need one more baby wipe. Kind of get the stickiness off of my hands, because the embossing paste does get a little sticky. So you might have some residue and stuff. Just wipe it right off. So now what we're going to do is don't take the stencil off yet. So I'm going to take my masking tapes off. And what you really want to do is look and see, do you have any little white areas where you can see the white paper coming through? You probably will, and that's okay. I find the easiest way to do this is take your finger and just go into the color with your finger and just put some embossing paste into those white areas and just blend it in. I find just using your finger versus trying to do it with your palette knife is just 100 times easier. Put some down here too. And some of the colors, like my Old Olive is the first color that I mixed up, so it's a little bit dry, but once you start playing with it a little bit, it'll come back to life for you. And really all you want to do is get some color in there. You don't necessarily have to worry about it looking fantastic. You just want to make sure that you don't have any white areas, because that's really going to show. It's going to kind of come up as a, it's really going to show through. So I think I'm going to do this next. Do I have enough rich raspberry to get any in there? I don't think so, which is fine. I'm just going to use Bermuda Bay then. There, we got some Bermuda Bay, so I'm just going to fill in this area right here. Sweet. And I'm just giving it a nice once over again to make sure. There's a couple areas here, so I think I'm going to do Bermuda Bay again. And then thought I saw one other area. Yep, right there. So that I definitely want Old Olive for. Perfect. And again, just give it a once over. It's not that big of a deal. If you do take, when you take the stencil off, if you find some areas that are white, it's really easy to put the stencil back on and line it up and fill it in again. Okay, I think that's good. So now what we're going to do is just start to lift the stencil up. You're going to hear some of that like crackly noises. It's going to sound like, oh my God! It's just because it's pulling away from the stencil. It's not that big of a deal. Set your stencil off to the side. Some people really freak out about cleaning these right away. I don't. I honestly don't even clean them. Sorry, don't yell at me. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Then you want to pull it up from the paper really easily and fun like that. And that's what it looks like. It's so much fun. I should have gone a little bit darker with my Daffodil Delight. I should have gone a little bit darker, but other than that, I'm thrilled with it. So now, again, easy peasy cleanup. All you do is fold this up, toss it in the trash, and you're ready to go. So we're going to take this, move it away. Now, what you do really want to do is heat set this piece as a whole. So I know we've heat set it a couple of times. You really want to heat set this and make sure it is super, super dry for this next part. So heat tool, full blast for a few minutes, for like 30, 45 seconds. So now what I'm going to do is, sorry, I couldn't find my craft knife. So if you look, you have some of the embossing paste comes off of the edges, and that's totally normal. It happens with every stencil you do, so don't freak out about it. There's really no way around it. But we want to have really nice, crisp, clean edges. So if you flip it over to the back, you can actually see the embossing paste hanging off the side. All I'm going to do is take my little craft knife here, and I'm just going to gently go along the edge using my paper as a guide, and I just gently rub it off. I'm not digging into the paper. I really have no pressure. I'm just using my hand in that kind of motion to flick away all of the stuff on the edges. So again, just like this. No pressure. I'm not digging into the paper. I'm not purposely trying to cut anything. I'm just very gently brushing that off. You want to kind of use your finger to tap it. You'll see some crazy edges still. Sometimes you just have to pull them off. But you can really tell, so you can tell that these 3 edges I've completed and this one I haven't. And when we flip it over, I'm waiting because it's like the best thing ever. You'll see it just looks very, very clean and crisp. Hang on, I'm making sure it looks nice and pretty for you guys. Let's get all the gunkies away. Okay, moment of truth. Ta-da! See how just like crisp it looks? Really, really, really pretty. Okay, so now it's just time to assemble this card. We are almost done and I'm so excited. It's so pretty. So what I do, because I have ink all over my hands, y'all, I could get up and go wash my hands, but I'm just not going to. That's no fun. So I'm just going to use a baby wipe, make sure my hands are really, really, really nice and clean, no spare ink, and then I'm just going to dry them really fast so that the ink any kind of ink doesn't bleed, mainly because we're using white paper and a bunch of colors. You want things to be really crisp. So we are going to grab our card base and we are going to grab our ribbon and some tape. And we're just going to do 1 line of ribbon here. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that just like so. Take our ribbon, move it out of the way. Again, a couple pieces of tape. I like to put the tape on both ends of the ribbon right off the bat, just because it's a little bit easier to adhere it down once you get it into the right place. That looks good to me. This, I was laughing at myself because the ribbon placement and like the sentiment placement is very similar. If like, it's exactly the same as the last card that I did. But I just love it. I just love it. I think it looks the best right there. So I'm going to flip this over now. I'm going to take my snail. And then I'm going to line this up on my card base. Just like so. Then I'm going to bring in our sentiment over here that has been hanging out safely. Put some dimensionals on the back of him. And pop it right down here in the bottom right hand corner. We're going to fold in our card base. Just like that. And there you have it. That is our fun card for today. I love it. I love it, love it, love it, love it. I hope you guys do too. So I really hope you enjoyed today's project. As always, you can see everything that I used to create this card in the coordinating blog post, which is the first link in the description box below. Down there will also be a link. If you do not have one of our new catalogs in your pretty little hands, please let me know. I would be happy to send one out to you for no charge at all. So click that link, send me a message, and I will get one sent right out to you. So I hope you guys are having a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!